Hi everyone, welcome back to RC Pi, and we're going to be having a quick look at this WPL C74 Suzuki Jimny. I'm going to I'll have a little go at improving the suspension, tell you what I've got and what I've tried, and I'm going to change the radio gear over to the WPL Res V3. The first thing I've been trying to do today is modify the suspension to make it a bit less bouncy and try and draw the wheels in a little bit. Put a bit of kind of preload or droop on it, if you like. Now, the leaf springs aren't so great. I've tried taking off the helper springs, but to be honest, I don't think that makes any difference. I think those are just a visual thing rather than anything actually functional. So what I did, I got hold of a couple of spring alternatives, and I was thinking about changing things around with internal springs to help these work. So I got some of these, well, they are WPL shocks from some of the other vehicles. So this is how they sort of turn out. Your sort of typical shock setup. I'll just move that to one side. But the problem with these is, well, there's a few problems with them actually. The primary one being that they're rubbish. They come with one spring which hasn't got a lot in it because it's very kind of pre-compressed, so it doesn't actually compress all that much. But I was thinking about using that on one side, inside, on one side of the piston, and another spring on the other side. So I took apart some pens, your typical sort of, I've only got all the bits here now, but I took apart some pens to get some springs out. Interestingly, I took apart 4 different pens, or my children did, and the springs were all different in the same sort of pen. But anyway, I've chopped one of those pen springs in half, and I've tried putting, or 2 different pen springs in half. I've tried putting them the different ways round so that it's sprung both ways for compression and tension. And then I looked at mounting them. Well, I bought another set. This was from eBay. You get them on AliExpress as well. So this is a pair of little shocks, quite nice little metal bodied shocks, a few screws, some ball ends, but they're not really right, they don't really work. And it also came with these mountings. So that alloy piece there, with a position to mount on your shocks, that came with it. Now these themselves, these shocks are far too short, so those are no good. There's hardly any travel in those, really. It's like 1 centimetre. And these WPL ones, these are kind of weird because they've got this side mounting. Now on the WPL chassis, you've got, on the rails, you've got these holes, so that pushes in to one of those holes and bolts in from the other side. Now, if that's mounted on the top hole, then it's far too low. And if it's mounted on the other hole, it's a bit too high. And with the springs that came with this, that would be alright if you just wanted it as the main spring, but to half and half it, like I'm doing, it's just not right. It's either pulling the suspension in far too much, and then there's hardly any travel. So for the moment, I'm leaving those on, but I'm giving up on these, and I'm going to see if I can get just some decent oil-filled shocks of the right sort of length, and then all I want to do is remove the springs and just use them as dampers. Now the next task today, and the reason that this chassis has been removed, you may remember that I had the fire issue, the burning speed controller, and I've been using this MN speed controller that I had as a spare. Now, having spoken to WPL about that issue, they were kind enough to send me this replacement. Now, this is a Res V3. I don't know if you can see there, it's the petrol version. And the cool thing with this speed controller and receiver, it's upgraded. It's ready for a 2-speed box as well, which I might do at some stage. But it's got a speaker in there so that we get sounds as well. So I'm going to fit that and see how much that improves things. In the bag for this Res V3, we've got the transmitter, which looks to be very much like the other one. It's got a strange switch on the side there, which doesn't seem to stay in position, so I don't know what that's for. I'll have to have a look at the manual. But other than that, it looks like the others. It says shift gears here. Now, whether that is for this, oh, and speaker light. So yes, I guess that button is to shift gears and that button is for speakers and the lights to turn those on and off. And we've got a trim on there. Doesn't seem to be any dual rate control on here though, which is a bit strange, but we'll find out. There's also a little bag came with it with a couple of different battery connectors, power switch, and just a connector with nothing on the end of it. Then there is speaker, small speaker, and the board itself. And some, I don't know, I'm not an electrical engineer, little resistors, transistors, I don't know what they are. Let's see if the instruction sheet gives us any idea. No, it doesn't. So we'll get these in and see how it is. Once you've got your Res V3 wired up, now I've just disconnected the power, which goes over here. So don't worry about that for now. It's just so I can show you, once you've got it wired up, if you screw that to the regular place, the mounting hole being here, if you mount that there, there's a big problem, and a honestly stupid design error, in that these servo plugs, which come out of the side, protrude beyond the frame rail, which means you can't actually fit the chassis back into the body with it located where it is designed to be. Now that, I think, is nothing less than idiotic. Really poor show, WPL. You need to think out how things fit together and the design of the parts. If you're going to make upgraded parts for your own cars, they need to fit. This doesn't fit. That is stupid. Right. What you have to do, I'll reconnect the power cable. That's back on there. Make sure you do get the polarity the right way around. Nice thing on this, and with instructions, you can see where the polarity is marked on there as well on the board. The other issue is that you get your speaker and there's nowhere here to mount it. There's no proper mounting point. There's not really any proper space. So what I'm doing for now, I'm just tucking it inside that cavity above the wheel arch. And that's basically what I also have to do with the Res V3. Just got to stuff it into there and then attempt to get all the cables in place and get the chassis back onto this body. Easier said than done, but I've just done it once and then undone it to show you. But always good to know what you're doing before you start recording. And then fiddle, 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 and that is in place, I think. So that now needs bolted down. I'll quickly do that, and then we'll check again that it works. So everything's now back in place. Everything's connected. I'm going to turn that transmitter on. We've got a flashing light on the transmitter, and turn the car on. Now the power switch is very fiddly here, so there we go, that's on, and we should have flashing lights. Okay, so if we just press the speaker light button, that will connect it, and it will also start it off with sound. Now, have we got sound? All we need to do to check that is steer. And annoyingly, we've got a relay sound for indicators, which are presumably the world's loudest indicators. Now, I know that most people seem to be like me in that they don't like indicators on RC cars, don't like indicator sounds or flashing lights, because if you were driving off-road, you would not use your indicators, and if you're just driving along a normal road, when you turn left, you don't indicate, do you? So why we have to have that, I do not know. So that's kind of annoying. Now, if you want to start up the sound, start up the engine, all you do is pull the throttle a tiny bit. It's very, very loud. So it's very loud. So pressing the speaker button once turns it off, then turns it to low volume, medium, oh, low and high, okay. Oh no, I think that's just, right, that's no sound. That's low, medium, high. So I'm going to put it on low. And a bit of throttle. It's a nice enough little feature. It's a nice enough little feature. It's a bit loud. The one thing I would say is it doesn't sound like the engine that would have been in here. To the best of my knowledge, it was a K-class engine in here, like 657cc. I don't know whether they did anything bigger. It's a 3-cylinder Suzuki engine. I know exactly what that engine sounds like because I've got one in my Suzuki Cappuccino. Yeah, doesn't sound like that, but you know, nice little feature. So one thing I did learn, these capacitors are for if you use a different motor. If you use an aftermarket motor, it stops the motor from interfering with the sound and the radio gear. So we didn't need that. So if you do want to upgrade to a Res V3, oh, another point of note is the steering appears to be better with this. So that's quite a nice thing. And the control is definitely better modulated. It's not perfect, but better than it was. So if you fancy upgrading your electrics, you want to do it in a kind of one-stop shop, then the WPL Res V3 system could be the choice for you. It's not too expensive, so that's a positive. It's all wrapped up in one, that's another positive. Very easy to get hold of, very, very fast delivery, I have to say, for something that's in stock. I was even told it wasn't in stock and it was still here very, very quickly. So that's pretty impressive. We'll see what it's like out on the trail, but it seems like the modulation is pretty good. It's also got it's got two other channels that you can use, and it's got other lighting channels, so you could put full lighting kit on here. You could have your working indicators, your rear lights. You could also add a winch to your third channel. So you can add it's got a channel for a 2-speed box, and then it's got a 4th channel for a winch, and there is a sliding control switch here for controlling a winch. So that's quite a nice feature. So a Res V3, it's not a bad thing at all. It looks like a nice piece of kit, a nice budget piece of kit. My only real complaint with it is the fact that it doesn't fit very easily into this car. Now, whether that's the same with other WPLs, I don't know, but for this one, it's just a bit of a fiddle. Don't try and get it to fit properly, just stuff it up into the underside of the bonnet, the hood, so it's just hiding under here, and you'll be happy then. If you found that helpful, please subscribe to the channel. Keep an eye out for when I do get round to trying to figure out the suspension. I will have another go at some point, but for now, thanks for watching this, and we'll see you soon on RC Pi. Enjoy your crawling.